Hey everyone, I wanted to film a little video to answer a little question that we had in the group that I think is a really important answer and something that might help a lot of you guys with a common kind of challenge coming up with the holiday season. So I'm just going to get the question up again. It was from Rebecca Taylor, and she pretty much just asked that she's got a lot of Christmas functions coming up, and she wanted to know, how she wants to go ahead. She wants to have a drink, wants to enjoy it, how she should plan ahead to try to enjoy the events but keep on track with her weight loss. She goes, or am I dreaming? Haha. You're not dreaming at all, Beck, and I'm glad you are, so thanks for that. So essentially, I'm going to talk to you about how you can minimize the effects of that sort of stuff. Because look, going out and having a big night and drinking and whatnot is obviously not going to benefit, losing weight and what we're doing here. But our goal is essentially to still enjoy ourselves but minimize any impact it might have from us. I think that's the only way you're going to sustain it long term. I'm sure you agree. So essentially, we want to take it from, instead of losing a kilo this week, you lose 800 grams because of that night out. Because we did it wise instead of losing only 200 grams because of that. And then you go, oh my God, I can't ever socialize. That makes sense? I hope so. So let's talk about how we're going to go about doing that. And I've made a few little pretty boards up that's going to help us with this. You can tell it's my handwriting, so let's get straight into it. Let's talk before you're even going out, what you're going to do to maximize or minimize, in this case, any impact from having that big night out. So the first few things we're going to want to do, one is focus mainly on protein and veg for your meals during the day. Alcohol is a macronutrient, meaning it's kind of like carbs and fats. When you drink, it's going to take the place of them, which means we need to make sure that what we do eat is essentially the essential macronutrients. In other words, you need to make sure you get your protein in during the day because that's very important. It's the most important one. And if you can get veggies in as well for fiber, vitamins, and minerals as well, that's going to be good. So focus during the day mainly on protein and veg. And I'll skip ahead because that's ultimately going to decrease your carb amount and decrease your fat amount during the day as well. Why do we want to do that? When we drink alcohol, essentially we switch off any chance of our body burning stored fat. Our body goes into storage mode. It's going to store any circulating nutrients. If we're loading up on carbs and fats, too much, when we're drinking alcohol, we're more likely to store that as fat. So naturally, we want to keep our carbs and fats a bit lower, mainly protein and veg. Second tip here is really just to drink plenty of water during the day, because when we drink, we're going to get dehydrated. Also, we're going to stay fuller during the day by drinking that water. So even beforehand, make sure you don't go in dehydrated. Drink plenty of water. I mentioned here about budgeting calories, which with a question mark, which essentially means you can use this strategy if you're tracking your calories. If you're not, this might not make much sense to you. But if you're tracking your calories, I know others have done this well, you can essentially just leave extra calories, which I guess is somewhat of what we're doing here, but to a more sort of calculated manner. Budgeting some calories so that you can have a bigger night out and not ultimately have too much of an effect. So for instance, you're eating 1,200 calories a day, for instance, nice example. Thursday and Friday, you drop down to 1,000 a day. So you drop 200 calories each day, you've now got 400, I guess, in the tank, right? You go into Saturday, you eat a bit lighter during the day, mainly protein and veg, right? Let's say you eat 600 calories during the day Saturday, so now you've got another 600 to make you 1,200, plus the 400 you kind of budgeted from Thursday and Friday. So now you've got 1,000 calories to play with. That's a couple of glasses of wine and a few bits and bobs of food, and you're not going to go too far over. I hope that makes sense. So essentially we can budget it, and look, if you do these other strategies, you're kind of doing that already, but we can budget and you can be a little bit more calculated. You could say, great, I have this many calories to play with, I can have 4 glasses of wine or 3 vodka and sodas, right? So you can budget your calories quite specifically, but ultimately that's kind of what we're doing here, just in a less calculated way. And the other thing I would recommend is actually just before you do go out, have something to eat. I think, especially if you go into a function where there's lots of finger food, that sort of stuff, actually eating before you go out is a really good way to not overeat the stuff there because you'll be fuller. If you get all those things hungry, then everything becomes game. At least that's what happens with me. So eat before you go out. Again, protein and veg mainly. Now we get to the function. During, what are we going to do to try minimizing and everything? So the obvious choice is lower calorie choices of your alcohol. Okay, there are very varying amounts of calories in different alcohols. Have a little search. Best tip, download an app on your phone called Calorie King. This is an app that lets you search certain foods, brands, types, whatever, and lets you see how many calories and everything. Have a look at different brands and see which ones you normally drink and see how they stack up to other things. So the best ones are generally, there's lower calorie wines. I think they're dry white wines. I think, don't hold me to that one. Spirits, so you can focus on, I think Deb before on that actual post suggested, I think vodka soda with some lime is just spirits and soda, so it's quite good. But spirits with, diet soft drink or things like that are what you might want. And then avoid the higher sugar drinks, your very girly drinks, unfortunately, are not good with that. The double blacks, things like that. They're the ones that are high in calorie. Try avoid them. They're going to be the worst ones. Don't pick at food. If you're at a function where there's lots of finger food, try actually to put food on a plate into any place instead of just picking at it, because when we pick at things, we essentially don't register we ate them, and you'll overeat a lot easier. So if you're going to eat at these things, try get a plate, put a decent amount on a plate, put whatever you're going to have, but don't just pick at it mindlessly because you will overeat. So try not to pick at the foods. Drink water, underlined here, because this is when it's most important, because as you're drinking alcohol, we're going to get more dehydrated, as some people know, contributes to a hangover and why we feel shit. Drink water, you'll be fuller, you won't eat as much, you won't drink as much, you'll feel better. You'll actually get your body out of that kind of alcoholic state and back to not storing fat and actually back to building muscle, because alcohol inhibits what's called protein synthesis, which essentially means we stop building and repairing our muscle from our workouts, which is not a good thing. Water will help us with protein synthesis. It will also help us get through this kind of stage. So drink water when you're out. I'm sure people have told you before, but you're going to hear it again from me. And the last one, as I kind of alluded to before, try to eat slowly and mindfully. Try not to eat and forget you're eating or drinking. I know it's hard when you have a few to drink, but you have to try think about it. If you eat slowly, you won't eat as much food, you'll realize you're full and you'll stop eating. So eat slowly, mindfully, and you'll be good to go. So that's while we're during. Final thing then actually after, this is a very full-on approach, right? Post. Again, I would focus on protein and veg for probably the next 2 to 4 meals, depending upon how big your night was. If you got absolutely wasted and you ate a whole pizza drunk, I've been there. Next 2 to 4 meals, maybe 4 meals, go quite light. You could even fast a little bit the next day, skip breakfast and fast a little bit. That's actually okay in small doses. You don't want to skip breakfast every day for the rest of your life. Small doses, it's okay. Next 2 to 4 meals, focus on protein and veg. Again, if we've still got that alcohol, we don't want too many carbs and fats. They'll be stored as fat. What else we got? Slightly more exercise. So someone, again, Beck suggested more training. Look, we don't want to treat it as punishing ourselves, like, all right, I ate too much, now I'm going to work it off. But ultimately, we can burn more calories with exercise. So treat it as rewarding yourself with a nice workout. Maybe after, I don't know, find a reason to reward yourself. More exercise will burn more calories if we overindulge. So yes, it does work to do more. I just wrote slightly. Don't feel like you need to go for a 3-hour jog to burn it all off. Do something, do a bit more exercise, get an extra workout in, go for a walk, do some home stuff. But slightly more exercise will help the day after. Plenty of water again. You're probably still dehydrated, you're going to be full, you might be eating a bit lighter today, as I said, protein and veg, drink water, fill yourself up. And try and get some sleep, because what actually happens is often we have a big night and we don't sleep, and that just further, extenuates, further makes the problems worse. That was horrible English. Makes things worse if we don't sleep as much as well, because then we're actually more hungry the next day, we don't function as well. So if you actually get some sleep, you'll feel better, your blood sugar will be more stable, so you won't feel even crappier when you eat the next day. Try get some sleep. I know that's hard. I hope that helped. If you still have questions that didn't make sense, you still want to get drunk, comment below. Jenna's probably going to comment now I said that. But comment below if you have any questions or feedback about that. Hope it helps you, Beck. That's all, guys.